Thank you, Carolyn. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for this webinar. The Small Business Development Center is a statewide network. Our mission is to help improve the economic development of the state by assisting entrepreneurs with growing successful businesses. We help entrepreneurs who would like to start a business, and we help owners of existing businesses. We assist them with no-cost consulting. They can meet one-on-one with a business consultant who often has been a business owner themselves, or they've worked in the finance arena, such as banking. The topics we typically cover with business owners are business plans, marketing plans, loan packages, but we also offer specialty consulting in areas like government contracting, intellectual property, and manufacturing and exporting. We also provide educational opportunities with training events like this one, which typically are low cost or no cost to the business owners. And we've got lots of resources in the community like South Carolina Department of Employment and Workforce, who we can refer our clients to for additional assistance. We've got 21 offices throughout the state. So no matter whether you're located in Greenville or Charleston or Beaufort or Florence, you can find an office close to you. Our consultants, as I mentioned, have got extensive business experience and therefore can answer questions and give guidance on many topics relating to businesses. This is my contact information if you need to get in touch with the local SBD consultant here in Charleston. At this point, I'd like to thank Wendi Dion and her staff for joining us. This is the second time they've conducted a webinar for us on this subject. They're from the tax side of SCDEW, and we appreciate your time and experience, Wendi. And I'll let you introduce your staff members who have joined you today. And I'll stop sharing my screen so you can start sharing.
Okay, thank you, Robert, for inviting us again this year. We enjoyed last year and hope that everybody finds the presentation helpful. I'm going to go ahead and introduce my two senior staff. I've got Jonathan Dionne. He's at 21 years experience in the tax department. And I have Nafisa Ali, who has 15 years total. She has some claims background as well as tax. And I believe Nafisa is going to present the presentations for everybody.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. So let's begin with unemployment insurance. So we are a part of the Unemployment Insurance Division. Our primary functions are to determine employers who are liable to the state of South Carolina, to collect taxes and to maintain records on those employers and to administer the state and federal unemployment insurance benefits program for South Carolina. So we are governed under Title 41 of the South Carolina Code of Laws.
All right, and Regulation 47.8, SCDEW is not bound by the rulings of other entities when making its determination, but whether an employee Employee-employer relationship exists for the purpose of determining liability under the South Carolina Department of Employment and Workforce laws. Under South Carolina annotated section 4127-231B, the common law rules govern the determination of an employer-employee relationship. The department will examine these factors in determining whether an employer-employee relationship exists. And some of these: A, whether the employer has the right to control or exercises control over the services performed for the job. B, whether the employer furnishes the equipment. C, whether the method of payment indicates an employment relationship. And D, whether the employer has the right to terminate the employment relationship. And this is a really important slide, basically talking about whether you're going to be issuing your worker a W-2 or a 1099. And I think, Nafisa, you have another.
I do. Hold on 1 second. Can everyone see that?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. How about now?
It's there now.
Versus independent contractors.
Yes.
So what is a W-2 employee? A W-2 employee is what we normally think of as a typical salaried employee. So unlike independent contractors, W-2 workers are not in their own business, business owners, I apologize. They work for your company, participate in employee benefit programs, and work according to your business's needs and schedule. So unless there's a compelling reason to classify a worker as an independent contractor, the default classification is W-2 employee.
So this shows you your W-2 here. Employers provide all the necessary tools and supplies for W-2 employees. Independent contractors must provide their own. In addition, employees are typically reimbursed for business expenses they incur over the course of their employment. This is typically not the case for independent contractors unless specifically outlined in their contract. By law, employers are guaranteed at least minimum wage set both by federal and state laws for the time they've worked on a regular and ongoing basis. Companies withhold their W-2 workers' Social Security and Medicare taxes and pay employer payroll taxes. In most cases, a company can let an employee go for poor performance or any other valid non-discriminatory reason. An independent contractor, on the other hand, works and receives pay according to the terms of a signed contract between the parties. They also pay their own taxes.
So what is a 1099 worker? 1099 worker or an independent contractor, they generally provide specific services as defined by a written contract. Some 1099 workers only work on one project at a time, but many serve multiple clients, providing a service within their expertise. Independent contractors, such as freelancers and consultants, are self-employed, so they're business owners themselves. Most of the time, businesses hire W-2 employees with the intention of working them for an undetermined length of time. On the other hand, businesses engage independent contractors for a defined period of time. Per the conditions outlined in the contract, but the engagement may be renewed as many times as both the 1099 contract worker and the business owner find to be mutually beneficial. So no matter the length of their term, independent contractors are defined for themselves how and where they work, what tools and methods they use to complete the work that you hired them for. 1099 workers can also choose to hire their own workers to help them deliver the product or services that you hired them to provide. So in other words, they assume the risk for their own profit or loss when they carry out their jobs.
I'm going to interject real quick right here. A lot of times your workers' comp will kind of narrow down, and that's a different agency. But the workers' comp will look to classify as well, whether it's an independent contractor or a W-2. And that's something that we look at when we're in the field auditing. So like Nafisa said, they look at the risk to the worker.
Okay, so the principal factors showing right of control, direct evidence of right or exercise of control. Number 2, method of payment. Number 3, the furnishing of equipment. And 4, the right to fire. So the right or power of control retained by the person for whom the work is being done is uniformly regarded as the essential criterion for determining whether the worker is an employee or an independent contractor. The right to control, to have the effect of making the relation that of employer and employee, must be control as to both what work is done and how the work is done. No one factor alone is determinative. The fact finder will weigh in all factors when considering whether an individual has been correctly classified as a contractor. The burden of proof is on the presumptive employer who is claiming the benefit of the exemption. So whether, if you're unsure whether a member of your staff is a 1099 or W-2, even after you look at those 4 factors, you can contact your local field service office or ETS office or through our website.
Examples: when to choose a 1099 versus a W-2 employee. Independent contractor. So these are going to give you some scenarios. Jerry owns a small business, a small restaurant with a staff of 10 employees. To include cooks and servers, Jerry sets the prices, the hours, the days the shop is open. He noticed a leak from the dishwasher and he's unable to do the repair himself. He has called Fix It Fast Plumbing to fix the one-time repair. The plumbing company is an example of an independent contractor. Just Bake It is a local bakery in town that has doubled their business since being spotlighted on the Good Morning America show. The owner would like to start shipping bakery items through an online software system. She has no experience with IT software. She researched several software companies, and has selected Easy Software Company to develop her shipping software. This is another example of an independent contractor. An automotive repair shop has 5 employees who perform basic automotive repairs such as brakes, tires, alignment, and tune-ups. During one of the repairs, the hydraulic lift malfunctioned. The owner called a hydraulic repair company to fix the lift. The hydraulic company is an example of an independent contractor.
I don't know why my screen is doing that. I apologize. Okay, so this is an example of an employee. Jerry owns a small restaurant with a staff of 10 workers to include cooks, servers. Jerry sets the prices, the hours, the days the shop is open. He is posting a job for a manager who will be paid hourly and have a set schedule. The worker will be required to act in his absence. So this would be an example of an employee. Another example would be Just Bakery. It's a local bakery in town that has doubled their business since being spotlighted in Good Morning America show and will now be shipping bakery items online and is looking for inventory warehouse worker who will manage a staff of 8. This worker needs inventory and supervisory experience, will need to work flexible shifts, and will be paid a set salary. This is an example of an employee. Last one, an automotive repair shop needs to hire a worker to perform basic automotive skills under the direction of a shop supervisor. This worker will have a 40-hour work week schedule and will be required to wear a company uniform. So this would mean that they're an employee.
Kind of jumping in real quick, requiring them to wear a company uniform is showing the control. So there's a couple of little flags in the examples where you can definitely tell it's an employee, where they're exercising control over the worker.
Wendi, do we want to take questions on this now or hold it for the end?
That's fine. We can do questions.
I feel like we'd have a, we might have a few questions on this.
Anybody?
We haven't received any questions in the
Okay.
chat box, but as soon as we do, if you don't mind me interrupting when I
Sure.
see a lull in the presentation, I certainly will.
Okay, great. Yep.
Thank you.
Certainly, my pleasure.
All right, so now we're
I'm
going to
gonna
go
jump
over.
in real, I'm gonna jump in real quick.
Go ahead.
Jonathan. Like I said, a lot of times when we're out in the field, this is where we hopefully educate the employer on the proper classification of the W-2s and the 1099s. Okay,
All right, so now we're going to go over the types of legal entities. You've got your sole proprietorship. This is a single owner. Files a 1040, and there's an actual Schedule C on the tax return on their, personal tax return. And there's different advantages and disadvantages to each of these entities when it comes to filing unemployment tax. And under a Schedule C, the owner, spouse of the owner, parents, and children under 18 or younger are exempt from state unemployment tax. So moving on from that, partnership, you've got two or more entities, any combo of individuals, partnerships, corporations, LLC. Partnerships file a 1065 tax return. And under partnerships, partners are exempt from SCDEW, and some other exemptions apply if held by both partners, and that's important. There's some relationships that can be exempt if that relationship is the same with each partner. So moving on from that, corporation, we have two types operated by officers. We've got a C Corp that file the 1120 tax return, and the S Corporation that files the 1120S tax return. And corporations may elect to exempt all corporate officers beginning 1/1/16. You do have to, Wendi, they do have to, there's a form for that, correct?
yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
And limited liability company LLC, operated by members, must register and be approved by South Carolina Secretary of State, Secretary of State. And LLCs can file tax returns as a proprietorship, a partnership, or a corporation. And members owning 25% or more can elect to be exempt from coverage.
Okay, liability determination for general employers, at least one employee for 20 or more calendar weeks. If you paid more than $1,500 or more in wages in any calendar quarter, it would be liable as a business owner. If you've acquired another liable business, if you've established liability in another state.
Okay, excuse me, liability determination, agriculture employers. This is 10 or more employees in each of 20 different weeks, or pay $20,000 or more in wages in any calendar quarter.
Domestic employers, if you paid $1,000 or more in wages in a calendar quarter.
Domestic is going to be like your housekeepers, nannies, that type of thing.
And then you've got your nonprofits, liability for this, 4 or more employees for 20 calendar weeks. And also you must furnish, if you're a nonprofit, you must furnish your 501c3 letter from the IRS.
So the liability determination process, you can do this through our website, Suits. You will need a form UCE 151, which is the employer status report. Again, you're encouraged to register online through the Suits portal. Online registration will automatically generate a due account number. It's the quickest way to get established.
I think, oh, okay. That's the link on the bottom there for the forms.
You can also file your report and pay online through the suits portal.
Okay, and this is giving you the website for employer registration, www.sc.gov/employers/suits. And there's our mailing address, South Carolina Department of Employment and Workforce, attention, employer registration, PO Box 995, Columbia, South Carolina 29202.
This is showing our website again. You would go right here where it says register for an account if you are the employer. If you, well, I don't see the agent one here. Okay. This is where you would go employers and then register for an account as an employer. Do we talk about agents later on?
The agents are going to be your CPAs or your designated reps.
So all of the employer filings must be made quarterly. Once determined liable, employers must file even if zero wages there were no wages paid. Again, electronic filing is strongly encouraged. It is up to date, real time.
So now we're going to talk about taxable wage base. State Unemployment Tax Act SUTA taxes are paid quarterly on the gross wages paid to each employee up to the annual taxable wage base. And beginning January 1st of 2015, the taxable wage base is $14,000. So if you have an employee that's, let's say, earns $50,000 for the year, you're only paying state unemployment tax on the first $14,000 that they earn. And you know, you will not, you will still report the 50,000 throughout in whatever quarter, but you are only paying taxes on the first 14,000.
This is the deadlines to file the reports. Wage reports and taxes are due 4 times a year on the following date. So you have your quarter one ending March 31st. That report will be due April 30th. Quarter ending June 30th, which is April, May, June. That report is due July 31st. Quarter ending September 30th will be due October 31st. And quarter ending December 31st is due January 31st.
Rate assignments. So we have 20 different tax classes. Tax rates are based on trust fund usage and trust fund balance. The department must annually calculate the tax contribution, income necessary to pay benefits and reach the fund adequacy target for the unemployment trust fund. Starting in tax year 2016, the income needed to pay benefits and return the unemployment trust fund to the fund adequacy target may also include a solvency surcharge. Solvency surcharge shall be in effect for each tax year that the trust fund reserve is less than the fund adequacy target as of June 30th. So a new employer would be assigned to a tax class 12. The initial rate based on experience after 12 months accomplished liability, established rate based on 3 years of accomplished liability, and computed based on experience as of 6/30 for most employers. That shows you the base rate is the expected benefit payment plus the contingency surcharge, which is the contingency assessment and solvency surcharge. And I think you have that PDF with the rates.
Yes.
Okay.
This is done annually based on legislature with the trust fund balance.
going to show the tax rate table. The 2021 tax rates for businesses will remain unchanged from their 2020 levels. When you just said that, didn't you? The legislative action. The tax rates is applicable for wages paid between January 1st, 2021 and December 31st, 2021. They're going to be shown in the table below in just a second. I'll show you that. And annual tax rate notice detailing individual tax rates was distributed to each employer on November 13, 2020. Individual rates are based on an employer's computed benefit ratio. The tax class assignment in the notice should be used for the full calendar year. The tax rates are applicable to the first 14,000, as Jonathan stated earlier. Although tax rates for each tax class are frozen in their 2020 levels, individual businesses may still move between classes based on their unemployment claim activity. All businesses with charges against their accounts are provided a charge statement quarterly to review and have 30 days to protest any charges that they do not believe should be on their account.
And the tax rates can move each quarter depending on tax liens and that type of thing.
So this is the 2021 unemployment insurance tax rate. If you're coming in, if you've been an employer and you have the lowest class, which is rate class 1, which is 0, and you're just paying the contingency of 0.06%. So the maximum cost per employee at this rate is only $8.40. And coming in as a new employer, come in at a tax class 12, which the total effective with the contingency assessment would be a 0.550% rate, and that's costing $77 per employee. And our highest rate is the class 20, and at class 20, you can see it's a 5.46%, and that is costs about $764.40 per employee.
And you can see the difference in, from $8.40 to the $764.40 is a quite a bit of a jump. So once you do bring your person on and reporting to the SCDEW, you want to make sure that if there are any claims that come their way, that they're responded to, filings are current, payments are current, because those type of things can jump you to a class 20 rate. So we wanted to show you an illustration of how much higher it can be if the reports aren't put in timely and that type of thing. And a tax lien will automatically jump you to a class 20 rate.
All right, under South Carolina law, tax rate schedules adjust automatically each year based on a formula that considers the projected benefit cost for the year, your base rate, and the projected amount required to return the trust fund to an adequate balance by 2020 solvency surcharge. Tax rates are set each year to fund these components. Each employer is also responsible for a departmental administrative contingency assessment surcharge of 0.06%, which is added to the base rate and interest surcharge. So total tax rate equals your base rate plus the servicency charge plus the DACA. South Carolina laws governing the tax rate assignment do not have an appeal process. For questions concerning your notice, experience rating, or request for review, please contact the Employer Tax Services via request for information screen from your online portal. Request for information can be accessed via request account information link after logging into the self-service portal, and inquiries can be submitted through your employer portal as a request for information. And all of this is in suits. So ABC Printing, I guess we're showing an example here. ABC Printing LLC, one employee taxable wages of $14,000. So what you see here, you've got the 4 quarters, wages per quarter. So it looks like you had 10,000 first quarter, 8,000 second, 9,000 third, and 10,000 fourth. You had a class 12 rate, new employer. And it's telling you what's due each quarter. Is that right, Wendi?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
And what you'll see is it's just an illustration to show you, even though the person, even though the liability was met in the second quarter, you still report the wages. There's just no money due once they meet that 14,000.
All right, so taxes are owed based on the amount of wages paid to your employees in a quarter as reported on your quarterly wage report. Due state unemployment insurance tax system suits is a convenient and easy online portal in which to report wages, make payments, view rate history, and more. And for more information, you can visit our suits webpage.
So these are some tips for keeping your rates low. We went over some of these already. File your quarterly contribution wage reports timely. Report new hires to the state directory of new hires. That's newhire.sc.gov. Report suspected employer and worker fraud through our website, dw.sc.gov/tools-resources/report-UI fraud. And respond to all employee information requests. So employee separations, worker wage audits, employer audits, and document verifications.
Okay, so this screen is going to give you responsibilities of the employer and of the Department of Employment and Workforce. The employer, you must make records available for inspection. Mainly this is, we'll touch on this in a minute, when you're, if you receive an audit letter from us, you must provide written notification to do within 30 calendar days of any changes regarding ownership, legal entity status, or closure via suits or by mail. You must respond to due within the required timeframes to ensure your rights to appeal or review determinations affecting your account are protected. And the responsibilities of due: protect the unemployment insurance trust fund, assist workers with obtaining employment, reemployment, and training, make determinations on eligibility to receive unemployment compensation based upon laws and regulations, make determinations on employer liability under the South Carolina Code of Laws and federal laws, and make determinations on employer-employee relationships under the South Carolina Code of Laws and federal laws.
This is just a list of our field office locations. So we do have offices in Aiken, Beaufort. We are in 3955 Favorite Place Drive in North Charleston, Columbia District Office, Conway, our Coastal District Office, Florence, Greenville, Rock Hill, and Spartanburg.
Right now, Beaufort satellite is under Charleston. So we are covering the Beaufort office.
Okay, so we're going to go into the audit program now, which is a lot of what myself, Nafisa, and Wendi do. The audit program's primary objective is to ensure state unemployment insurance law tax compliancy by verifying correct taxes due, obtaining proper contribution and wage reports, assuring liable employers operate bona fide businesses, and assessing employers' financial abilities to pay delinquent assessments. Audits examine the payroll records and provide a basis for making determination on the appropriate classification of workers. And this is that whole employee independent contractor thing. Audits verify if wages were reported accurately and taxes were assessed at the correct taxable wage base. Audits are used to determine an employer's financial ability to meet UI tax obligations. And audits help employers to obtain a greater understanding of unemployment insurance law requirements by explaining responsibilities, legal requirements under the South Carolina Code of Laws and federal laws.
And like we were saying earlier, a lot of times when we're on our audits, this is where we see misclassification of workers. So we want to make sure that everybody understands the difference between 1099 versus W-2.
Do we want to touch on like the audit process at all, or what, how that works, Wendy, or?
Sure.
So basically, most of the audits we do are going to be random audits, and you will receive a letter from us if you are selected to be audited. And it's a lengthy letter, but you know, our contact information will be on there, and you can call us with any questions about, you know, what forms are actually needed for the audit. We prefer that you submit the documents to us online. We have a secure portal. You can submit the documents. If that's not possible, we can come to your business location to perform the audit.
Any questions?
Yeah, questions?
I don't think we've got any questions in the chat box. If you do have questions for the presenters, please type those in the chat box and we'll take them one at a time.
And our office is open for any kind of consult or any questions if you want to come in person. Like I said, we're here at 3955 Favor Place.
Carolyn, do you see any questions? I think you're muted, Carolyn. Okay, well, Nafisa, if you could stop sharing your screen. Carolyn, I wanted to ask if you could show the page where folks could go to learn about other webinars and to find our recorded webinars. Okay, thanks, Carolyn. Up at the top here, this is our state website at SCSBDC.com. Up at the top, it says training events. If you click on training events, our webinar calendar for the entire state comes up, and you can see the subjects there of today's event and other events coming up in the future. Carolyn's going to scroll down, and this is our library of recorded webinars that we've done in the past. We do several webinars each month throughout the state. And so as you'll see, there's a variety of topics, from human resources to starting a business to marketing 101. There's specialty ones talking about navigating the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, disaster planning, economic updates, things like this. There's no password required, so you can watch these at your leisure. Thank you, Carolyn.
Was that a question?
Any other questions? Oh, we've got one. Thank
we-
you, Yelena. I'm an LLC. So far, I'm just by myself. But next month, I'm preparing to hire my sons, who are 16 and 18 years old, and then several employees outside. What is more convenient for me to make it legal? What is the best practices for this case?
Well, with an LLC, you can have an S election, or you can be a sole proprietor. Are you a sole proprietor? Do you file a 1040 tax return, or do you file an 1120S?
Let me see.
Okay. If you're a sole proprietor and they're under 18, they're going to be exempt from reporting. Once they turn 18, you will need to list them on the state unemployment tax reports.
She says corporate.
Okay. Then everybody would be reportable, to include the corporate officer, unless you file the exemption on the corporate officer.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for the question. Any other questions before we wrap things up? Oh, how does she file the exemption?
On our website for SCDEW, there is an exemption form. If you are currently in business this year, it will not apply. So you will need to report yourself as a corporate officer for 2020, but you can submit the exemption. I'm sorry, for 2021. You can submit the exemption for 2022, and you have to do it by the middle of January. This is something that I can email you, or you can find it on the SCDEW website, corporate officer exemption. But
Okay.
it will not be retro. It'll be for the upcoming year. Let me jot that down.
Well, thank you. We appreciate Wendi, Jonathan, and Nafisa joining us today and making this presentation. All of you who participated today will receive a post-event survey in just a few minutes. So please, if you will, fill out the survey and give us feedback on this presentation. The feedback you give us helps us plan future webinars. As Carolyn stated earlier, those who return the survey will receive a copy of the slides and a link to the recorded presentation. We thank you all for being with us today and have a good day.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Carolyn, and thank you all who participated. Reach out to us if you have any questions.